Morning class, it's Mr. Stewart, and this is going to be the Week 4 Integrity Lecture over Chapter 6 and 7 for Intro to Security CRJ 160. And today I'm going to talk briefly about enhancing security through physical and procedural controls. And really what we're talking about here is physical security and security procedures. And honestly, this is really straightforward, and I don't even really need the PowerPoint to give you an overview of what this is talking about, because these are kind of the two hallmarks of the security industry, is having physical security, which is physically securing the facilities to make sure that the facility is secure, and then having a procedure to deal with almost anything that's going on. I may use a few of the slides just for some talking points, but this is kind of what I would consider to be the meat and potatoes of physical security, of security in general, because this is what most of the security jobs out there will entail, at least something having to do with either putting physical controls in place or putting procedures in place in order to maintain a higher level of security. So the first thing I want to talk about is crime prevention through environmental design, CPTED. CPTED hasn't really been around that long. If you look at it in the big scheme of things, it's been around 50 years or so at this point. But it really looks at how are we going to design the building, where are we going to put the building on a piece of property, how are we going to landscape and design the property in order to make it very secure. For example, you wouldn't necessarily want a very high security facility so hidden from the public eye that people could sneak in and have places to hide. You don't put a lot of trees and landscaping around the buildings. You do put fences, and typically those fences you can see through to a certain degree. A lot of the high security facilities are out on almost a bare piece of property. That's done by design. That's not just because there wasn't anything on that property. Chances are there was probably something on the property, and they cleared it away because, if you can see in, that means the people in can also see out. And we want to make sure that we don't set ourselves up to be in a physical location where nobody can see if anybody's doing anything wrong. If somebody's trying to break in or something like that. So, if you drive through Huntsville Research Park, you'll see several of industries that have very high levels of security. And if you notice, most of them are visible from the road. Not only can you see in, people from the facility can see out. Yes, there are some very high security facilities in this area. Some of them are located on Redstone Arsenal, and access is very, very limited. Many of them were put in place, those buildings were put in place prior to this whole idea of CPTED. But we've seen a lot of high security businesses move off the Arsenal and into Research Park and into other places, into areas where they can really control their security from the beginning, from the outside in, almost, to make it where you can see in, they can see out. And these are kind of your four key strategies in regard to CPTED. Territoriality. You're setting yourself apart from everybody else. You're putting up some sort of boundary. You're creating your own territory. You are providing natural surveillance. That's both in and out. That's a two-way street. You are providing activity support, which means that the building is designed, the grounds are designed in such a way as to make the whole facility secure, and you are controlling access. Really, if you want to have a secure location, you control access to it. Maybe you have a gate guard. You have somebody only let certain people in. A prison is an excellent example of crime prevention through environmental design. And what crime are they trying to prevent? Escape. nobody really wants to break into a prison, but everybody that's in there for the most part wants to break out. But they also want to make sure that if somebody does break out, at least they can see them for a while before they can hide or fade into the woods or something like that. So they just don't let anybody to come into prison. If you go to Limestone Prison over off of in the Capshaw community, then what you see is before you can even see the prison facility, you got to go past a gate and you have to be cleared to enter. Then they tell you where to park, and then you have to go through more gates, and you have to go through a checkpoint and everything else. So it's a very secure facility. If you go to the county jail is also secure in that fashion. So access control plays a large part in this whole idea of physical security, because you got to have a location that is secure. You got to keep the wrong people out. You also need to keep the right people in. You can look at it either way there. Now that doesn't mean that we don't hire bad people and some bad people don't get access into a secure facility. Yes, that happens. But I just want you to understand that we can only go so far with securing a facility, but we can go pretty far with securing a facility. And whenever you have a facility that is secure, you need procedures for the people who are securing it to follow to make sure that it stays that way. And that's why I'm really kind of talking about these two chapters almost simultaneously, is because just having a secure facility is good, but it's not enough. Just having a procedure to follow is good, but it's not enough. You have to combine those two things so that you have a secure facility and proper procedures are followed to keep it that way. All right, so I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail on these things because you can read them for yourself. What territoriality is, what natural surveillance is, what activity support is, and access control is. But just understand that one of the goals of security is to provide a secure location for whatever the business is to be conducted. And so we have to enact physical controls to keep the wrong people out, keep the right people in, to make it a place where it's not conducive to commit crime. If you look at this whole idea of concentric zone theory, you can see that typically the very interior portion of a facility is going to be your most secure, and then the exterior perimeter is going to be the least secure. So anything that's done, double top secret squirrel is going to have to be done, out of the public eye, with multiple physical controls and multiple procedures to follow in order to keep those particular secrets from being leaked out. I mean, honestly, do you think that Kentucky Fried Chicken keeps their original recipe for chicken in somebody's desk drawer when you walk into the main office? No. It's in some sort of really major big safe deep within the confines of their corporate headquarters somewhere, and its exact location may be unknown except to very few people, and that's why it's considered top secret. Same way with the recipe for Pepsi or the recipe for Coke. If those things got out, then Walmart could make a drink that tastes just like Coke. They try, it doesn't quite work, but and sell it for cheap, put Coke out of business. So a lot of businesses like that have some sort of proprietary secret or top secret recipe for something, they want to keep those things secret. So they keep them, in the middle, in the most secure area of whatever their facility is. So there's three basic lines of physical defense for a facility: the perimeter, the building exterior, and the interior. And so you have to get through the perimeter first. Now, in some places that's not too bad, like here at Calhoun. You simply just drive into the parking lot. If we are closed, we can close the gates and we can keep you out of the parking lot. However, you could probably drive across the grass and be, and still get on campus. It's not a very secure facility. Not like Redstone Arsenal, where you have to go through a gate and have your ID checked before you can even get into the perimeter of the facility. The next thing is a building exterior. How do we secure a building exterior? We put locks on the doors, and we use them. We keep the wrong people out through the use of those physical controls. And then finally, how do we secure the interior? Typically that's done not only through procedural controls, but also through, if I work in a certain part of the building, I may not be allowed to be in another part of the building. We give people limited access to different parts of the interior, so that if you have a lower security clearance, you can't go into the top secret area of the facility. If you have a higher security clearance, you can. So I think it's important that you just keep these things in mind about these three basic lines of defense. You have a perimeter, a building exterior, and a building interior. And the rest of this chapter really looks at a lot of the equipment that we use to secure a facility, such as locks. Yes, locks are not new. They've been around for years. A lock keeps an honest person honest, because look at it this way: if man made it, man can defeat it. I've done locksmith work for several years myself. There's not many locks I can't pick. There's not many locks I can't get in. I can even take a lock without a key and make a key for it in short order, and I can get in that lock. The only locks that I really can't get in too easily are the electronic locks. If you give me some electrical current and a couple pieces of wire, I can probably get into those too. Biometrics is another way. It's basically a door lock or an entrance device where it uses retinal scans, fingerprints, voice analysis, whatever the technology is at the time, to try to get only those people who are specifically allowed in a certain area into that area. Lighting is very good. Lighting is something that's really fairly inexpensive and can make a huge difference. That's why you see a lot of businesses have lighting on the exterior at the nighttime. They're lighting that thing up so that if you see somebody so that if somebody's over there, you can see them. Intruders want darkness. They want to cover up what they're doing. They want to hide. If the building is extremely well lit, they're probably going to move on to a different target. So you can read in your textbook all the different types of lighting. Alarms are also one of the basic pieces of security equipment. They've also been around for a long time. Nothing else. You can put some tin cans on a piece of fishing wire and somebody trips over it, you're going to hear it. Somebody's breached your perimeter. That's what they did in even as late as the Vietnam War. We see that when we had soldiers who were encamped outside of some sort of forward operating base or OP observation post or something like that, then they would just put up a little tripwire with some sea ration cans on it, and if the Viet Cong came by, they tripped over it, the alarm was sounded, they woke up and they started shooting. So alarms work. Alarms work really well if you tie them into some sort of monitoring center, and that way if the alarm is tripped, if it goes off, then the police are automatically notified. I can tell you that most criminals, if they see a sign that says you have an alarm, will just move on to the next house, unless they really want to get into your location. TV likes you to believe they're just going to disconnect the alarm or cut the wire or something like that. Criminals are not that motivated usually. They're pretty lazy. So they see a sign that you have an alarm, they're going to move to the house that doesn't have the alarm that they know of to hit. You can have alarms for burglary, you can have alarms for fire, you can have alarms for theft. Your book goes into detail about all the different types of alarms, whether it's local, which only sounds on the premises only, whether it's monitored, or whether it's even directly connected to the police. Some places do that. We do get a lot of false alarms. Understand that alarm systems are simply a piece of machinery. It's a system, and if you make it where it's not very sensitive, then you're open for the alarm to be defeated. But if you make it where it's overly sensitive, then things that aren't hurting your facility are going to make the alarm go off. When I worked in the prison system, we had an alarm between the two exterior perimeter fences, and it was called an H field. And basically what it did is it measured the amount of water or mass of an object that was on top of this electric field, a magnetic field, and it was supposed to tell you if there was a person moving between the two fences. They had it set so sensitive that a rabbit would set it off. And I don't know how many times I've been called to go look in between the fences because they had an alarm going off thinking it was an escape, and it was a rabbit. The rabbit can squeeze right between the fences. So, but can you really afford not to investigate every single alarm that goes off? No, you've got to investigate it. We do have false alarms, but it's just one of the things that we've got to do is investigate them to make sure that somebody's not doing something wrong. TV cameras are another one, either closed-circuit TV or Internet Protocol IP video, where it streams to a website and people can watch it from wherever. Those are other pieces of physical controls. Sometimes even putting up a fake camera works just as well as actually recording. Very high-tech facilities, top-secret facilities use thermal imaging and night vision cameras and things like that. So, there's a lot of things we can do to protect the physical structure of a facility in order to make it secure. Just to also understand, however, that there is a concern over the amount of or lack of privacy by private, non-criminal citizens through extensive use of these surveillance methods. If you work in certain locations, you're going to be filmed. You're going to be recorded. Your phone calls are going to be recorded. Your emails are going to be monitored. Your web usage is going to be monitored. Honestly, I don't really call that surveillance. I call that the facility is securing itself to make sure that there is no impropriety happening. The company would not have a legal right to look on your private laptop in your office, but if it's your office computer and in your desk, yes, because that belongs to them. If you're on their property, they have the right to film you. The only place they cannot film you or put you on camera is in the bathroom. Everywhere else is completely legal because that's their facility. They're trying to secure it. So just understand that some people are getting a little upset about that, but the issue is all about security. All right. This chapter goes on to give you some facility physical defense guidelines. How you control the perimeter. You can use fencing. There's a couple different types. Use alarms, lighting, cameras. You can put up barriers to vehicles. You can have security patrols for the perimeter. You can put up signs that says, "Hey, you're not allowed to be here." How do you secure the exterior of the building? Good, strong locks, alarms, surveillance cameras, lighting. Only have a limited number of entrances that people can go in or out. How do you control security in the interior of the building? Separate your secure areas from non-secure areas, public areas from non-public areas. Maybe you have a security officer who makes sure that those two areas do stay separate. Again, using locks, alarms, mirrors, vault safes, shredding your important documents, surveillance systems. Maybe you have a command center that watches all those cameras or whatnot throughout the day and night. Have some sort of security system. Now, when I say security system, I'm not talking about an alarm system. I'm talking about a total security system where you have physical controls in place, you have procedures in place to make sure those physical controls are working, and then you have people who are using those procedures. It has to be all three of those things in order to have a secure facility. Again, you can have a secure facility, but if you don't have anybody that's maintaining the security of that facility, It's not secure. You can have procedures in place, but if you have an open facility, it doesn't matter how strong your procedure is, it's not going to work. So you need to have a secure facility. You need to have proper procedures in place that the people who work there can follow. And when that happens, you're going to have a much more secure location. Now, are some things still going to get by you? Yes. Are you going to be able to prevent every single loss? No. But you're going to go so far in securing that facility, that's not even funny. If you can have proper procedures, well-trained, qualified people who are enforcing the procedures and following the procedures, and a secure facility. Those are going to be important. So that's just kind of what I wanted to focus on today. I'm not going to get into the PowerPoint on procedures because, I mean, it's straightforward, it's self-explanatory, but I just want you to understand that it's just a component. I mean, think about this. You've got your hand, and your hand has fingers. If you start losing a finger, hey, the hand don't work so well. You know, especially if you lose this thumb. Think about security and aspects of security being a finger on the hand. And when all of them are in place, it works really well. You take one of them out, you take another one out, again, it doesn't work as well. It still functions, but it doesn't work as well. You have to have several different things in place, and as we continue through the term, we'll talk about those other things as well. Have a great week, guys. I'll see you in discussions. Please make sure you go back into previous week's discussions at the beginning of the week in order to respond to either my questions to you or posts from others. Have a great week, guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.